Hey guys, this is Post-Production Pi with srlounge.com. Alright guys, we're going to get into an advanced dust correction technique, and we're going to do it with our tone curve. That's right, with our tone curves. Alright guys, so I actually can't take credit for this technique. It's actually one I learned recently in Photoshop User, and I thought it was a really cool technique to add to this DVD. So, by the way, Photoshop User is a really cool magazine too, so be sure to check that out as well. Now we have exercise file 1-3-2 selected. We're going to hit F twice to load it into full screen. And now we're going to go to our tone curve palette, and what we want to do first is reset the point curve. So just select linear so that we have a linear point and make sure that it's editable. So if you're seeing the highlight, lights, dark sliders, we don't want it in this mode. We want it in the editable point mode, which just you click here to select. Alright, so what we're going to do is create a tone curve for specifically correcting dust, and then we're going to reset it whenever we don't need it and use it whenever we need it by saving it out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start at around this point right here. You're going to add a point to the line. We're going to drag this all the way up to 10% and 100%. So we're going to 10% up on the X scale, and we're going to 100% on the Y. We're going to drag another point, and we're going to go all the way down. This one's going to be at 20% and 0. Okay, and we're going to go every 10%. We're going to go up to 100. So at 30, we're going to go back up to 100. And then at 40, we go back down to 0. So I want you guys to do this right now. We're going to spend a second doing this together. And it doesn't take that long. We only have to do it once because we're actually going to set up a little preset so it does it on its own from here on out. Let's see, 60, 0, 70, 100. It's kind of hard to see that number in there because it's pretty dang small. And then 80, 0. And then we're going to go back up to 90, 100. Almost, there we go. And then we're going to pull this 100 down to 0. All right. Now if you want to click and adjust any of these, whoops, we got to drag that again. There we go. Now you can click and adjust any of them by just kind of pulling on it if you want to make it, a little more perfect, get it right in the between the 90. But for the most part, that should be fine the way it is. We can adjust this one. Whoops. I'm going to hit undo. I'm going to adjust this one a tiny bit. It looks a little bit off. So let's go to 10%. Ugh, I wish you could just type in these numbers, but we can't. All right, that's good enough, guys. We're going to save this out, and we're going to go down here, and we're going to save it. Whoops, wrong button. We're going to go to the point curve and save this as a new curve, and we're going to call this dust curve. And that's great. We have an awesome looking image, and that's what we're going to render it out as. I'm just kidding, guys. We're not going to do that. All right, guys. Now what this new tone curve allows us to do is to be able to see more detail into the image. So we're able to see basically flecks of dust that we wouldn't normally be able to see unless we use this curve. Now, because of the amount of time it takes, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this with every single photo. But on certain photos that maybe you want to blow up, or maybe they're magazine submissions, or just those, wowzer incredible photos, I would take this tone curve and use it so that you can pick up any extra dust that you might miss normally. So let's check this out. If we zoom in over here just by clicking, we can see a couple pieces of dust right here, as well as this little thing in the air, which could be a bird or something, but either way it's a little bit distracting. So from this view, we can remove this dust, and we're going to just click there. We're going to click and choose once again a similar area so that we don't get any strange gradation. We're going to remove this little fleck. We're going to remove these guys, this guy, and we can just go through our image like we normally would. And once again, I'd recommend that you guys go top to bottom, left to right, but we don't have much on this side. If I zoom in, we can see there is a tiny bit actually, like right here. We have a little bit right here, and then one right here. So fix those. And then this little spot right here, there's probably a boat or something, but it looks a little bit distracting. So I'm going to remove that as well. And there's a spot right here. So these are all bits of dust that we wouldn't normally be able to see. So this tone curve allows us to be able to really just get in there and kind of really perfect the image as far as cleaning up the dust and all these little flecks and stuff like that. All right, guys, so what we're going to do when we're done, we'll zoom back out. We're going to switch the tone curve back down to linear standard. And now we're back to where we were. We'll check our dust now by hitting Q and looking over those areas that we checked. And it all looks good. We've cleaned it up, and we don't see any, bad healing examples. So we're good from there. Let's go to that other image, and let's check this one out by applying that same curve. So we're going to go back to exercise file 2-1 and do the exact same thing. We're going to take our point curve, and this time we've saved it out, so we don't need to do it again. We just need to select dust curve. Now, once we're in this view, I see additional pieces of dust automatically that I didn't see before. So if we zoom in, we can actually see little flecks, like for example here, and here, and here. All of these that we can clean up as well from this image. So let's just do those real quick. And these might not be, they might not be that noticeable when you print it out. But and that's kind of why I'd recommend like not doing it on every single image, because this is a very time-consuming process. But when you are, working on those magazine quality images, when you're working on those images that you just want to be flawless, when you want to be perfect, this isn't a bad thing to do. In fact, it's a great thing to do. It's going to end up kind of just helping you perfect those images and take it one step further. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend on all images, but on those kind of really images that you want to just be knockout gorgeous and flawless, this is a great technique to use. So you can see how much additional little bits and dust that we're seeing in here. And we can tell that they're dust because, they look like dust, but they're also going to give us kind of strange graduation effects, like in the areas that we see them. Like if we see a piece of hair or something, it's going to be a little strange graduation effect. And so you'll kind of notice because it's going to stand out from the colors that you do see in the image currently. All right. This actually looks like a dead pixel. So this could be like a pixel issue in the sensor. If you see stuff like that, if you see a lot of those little dead pixels on your camera when you're editing dust and stuff, that's an indicator that you need to have your sensor checked by the camera maker. Because over time, these sensors actually do wear and tear, and you start getting these little dead pixels. And if you get a ton of them, then it can actually be kind of noticeable and very, very distracting. And it will also take you forever to fix if you try and fix them all. So I'm just going to clean up a little bit more of this dust, and I think we're good about right there. You can see how much extra stuff that we can see now in this view mode when compared to the normal view. So we're cleaning up quite a bit of extra stuff that we wouldn't normally be able to see very well. All right, I think that's good for the sake of this tutorial. Let's bring this up to right there. I'm going to zoom back out. Once again, we are going to set it back to linear, and then I'm going to hit Q. And we're going to just review it just to make sure that we don't see any strange healing areas, which we don't. It looks good. Alrighty guys, we are done with our advanced dust correction, and before I forget, let's save up our snapshots. So 03 advanced dust removal, and let's go back to that prior image and let's save that one out also as 03 advanced dust removal. Alright guys, great job, and let's go to the next tutorial.